Please tell us a little bit about the league. What prompted you to put that together, and eventually let the audience know how they can see it or where they can view it.
Yeah. Well, it started, gosh, 24 years ago.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I've been working on that project a long time.
Oh, wow.
A labor of love, as they say. Um, I was watching the Ken Burns piece on baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I was in New York. I was doing a show on Broadway. And on my off day, I just happened to be watching this TV show. And uh, Ken Burns had done on baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And he did 1 hour of this 18-part series documentary. He did 1 hour based on the Negro Leagues.
Oh,
And I remember sitting there watching that going, wow, this is really great. I
yeah.
said, but these are not the stories I heard growing up as a kid. I said, there's so much more to the story.
Yeah, yeah.
Why will he only do 1 hour
Right.
based on the Negro Leagues?
Uh-huh.
So I was having dinner with a friend of mine a couple of nights later, and it kept coming up in my mind because it bothered me.
Sure.
And I said, Gene, I don't understand why they would do this movie. And I told him about my father's stories, and he's laughing, and he understood the story, and he was a producer himself. He worked on some other projects himself.
Mm-hmm.
And finally I said, what you should think about doing something about the Negro Leagues. And he says, oh, I'm not the person to do this. He says, you are. And I fell out laughing. I almost fell on the floor. I was laughing so hard. I said, this man is insane.
Right.
I said, Gene, I don't know the first thing about making films. I don't care about it. I don't like that many films. No, I'm not. And a documentary? No.
Yeah.
And so I kept calling him.
Uh-huh.
I got back to LA and I kept calling him and said, have you started thinking about something about the Negro Leagues? He says, I'm telling you, I'm not the person to do this. You are. And so this went on for 2 years.
Okay.
For that conversation went on for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so finally one night I'm watching old TV shows I used to love to watch. And I thought, I can do this. I think I can do something on this Negro League project.
Yeah, yeah.
It's in my mind. I said, I can do this. So I called my friend Jane, and it's like 12:30 at night in New York. She's like, I'm in bed. Call me tomorrow. I'll tell you how to get started. So I called him the next day and I said, hey, I think I'm ready to do this.
Ah.
And that started the process. My friend Gene Davis, who's also a friend of Corky and Mike's.
Okay.
I met him through Corky and Mike.
Them. Okay.
And through them. And yeah, and so I started working on the progress of trying to make this documentary happen 24 years ago.
Wow.
And I started interviewing, raised a little money,
Mm-hmm.
and started interviewing, my father and Buck O'Neill and some of the other players that live in Kansas City at the time.
Okay.
Who had played with the Monarchs. And eventually I interviewed Rachel Robinson, Jackie's widow, Maya Angelou.
Really? Why Maya Angelou? Was she connected some way with the league, or?
No, I just knew that I had been a fan of hers for so many years, since I was in high school and college. And I just knew her life and just knew, I said, she's got to know something about the Negro Leagues. This woman has got to know something about the Negro Leagues.
Okay.
And I thought, I've got to get to her somehow. And my father had an operation, and I was in the hospital. I was back in Kansas City,
Mm-hmm.
helping out him and mother. And the phone rings one evening, and a friend of my sister's called. Her husband called,
Mm-hmm.
and wanted to talk to my dad. And I said, well, he's not here right now. He's in the hospital. I said, well, this is his son, Byron. I'd never met this guy before. I knew his name,
Mm-hmm.
but I said, no, I knew his wife better than I knew him. I said, is there something I can help you with? He says, oh yeah, we wanted to, he says, I'm from South Carolina, and they want to do a tribute to your father in South Carolina.
Okay.
And I said, oh, really? And he said, yeah. I said, well, would you happen to know Maya Angelou? Since you're from there originally? He says, no, I don't know her. He says, but I have people who I know that do know her and work with her.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'll make you a deal. I said, I will talk to my father about doing this, event for you if you can get me an interview with Maya Angelou.
Ah.
And he says, oh, I'll check on that and call you back.
Okay.
So I said, okay. I said, you get that?
We're good.
You get my father. And he calls back. And he says,
and he arranged it.
He arranged it. He says, call Miss Maya Angelou called everybody Miss so-and-so, like Miss Phoebe, Miss so-and-so. You were always Miss. You weren't either Miss or Mrs.
I see.
She never called you by your first name. You were
see.
Mr., you know, Mr. You were Mr. or Mrs. She always did that.
Okay.
And yeah, so he got the interview, and so my father went to, almost said the name of the city, went there. He and I both went together, and he got the tribute to him and did all that. And then like the next month, I was at Dr. Maya Angelou's house interviewing her.
Oh, wow.
It was incredible.
That must have been a real thrill, for one thing. I mean, she's the great Maya Angelou.
Oh my God. It was unbelievable. It was beyond unbelievable. I mean, here I am with Maya Angelou in her house,
right,
interviewing her for 3 hours.
3 hours you were there.
3 hours.
So what did you get from that, by the way? So was she...
Oh, I got so much from it, I couldn't even take it all in.
Oh, wow.
I was just so in the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time of the interview, it was a perfect interview. I mean,
Okay.
she sang and she would laugh, and
Oh, wow.
she was Maya Angelou.